Welcome to Mitten Music.
Season 4, Raw, Live, and Authentic. Episode 2, with Nicholas James Thomasma, the Executive Director of the Michigan Music Alliance. For those folks who don't know who we're talking to right now, we're talking to Nicholas James Thomasma.
What was his name again?
He does.
Just joking.
I think I got it right.
Yeah, you did. Perfect.
We talked to you about a year and a half ago in season 2, episode 14. So people check that out. We talked about a lot of different things that you were doing at that time. Mm-hmm. You're involved in a lot. You're a musician.
I always got a lot going on.
He does.
Yeah, you like to stay busy.
I think that's the nature of musicians, though, is that it's a juggling act, and you want to stay busy.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You got to keep moving. Got to keep.
Yeah, because if you're not, you're just gonna
get stagnant.
Waste away. Yeah, I don't want to say waste away, but
yeah,
I can't imagine creativity lends itself to so much laziness.
No, I think you're right about that. I think movement is conducive to creativity, and when you're trying new things and going to new places, that's inspiring. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you need any help moving throughout your day, I would recommend something my wife just bought that came in the mail today. It's a literal treadmill with none of the fancy stuff. It's just like a walking pad treadmill. It's like the minimalistic, littlest thing.
You can put like under a stand-up desk or something.
Yeah, you could do it. I was like, they make them this small, this cheap. Holy smokes. Just throwing that out there.
All right, yeah.
Fair enough. Because I'm excited because I'm going to start using it. I feel like I'm going to get something.
I might have to get one, actually.
Technology has advanced so far to the point that we're now going backwards.
Yeah, right?
Like it has no bells and whistles.
You want nothing on it.
Yeah.
But I'm that way, though. Actually, I would like to roll down my own windows, and I want my CD player back in my car, please.
All right, yeah. Not your cassette player?
Cassette's all right, too. Actually, I do have a cassette player in my car.
He's got an 8-track.
In the
wagon?
wagon?
You got a bus, though, don't you? You got a VW.
I have a Volkswagen bus. Yeah, it does not have an 8-track. It does not, no. In fact, I don't have a radio at all.
Oh, well, that
Man.
You are really doing it. You're being real.
Yeah. So you can roll down the windows, but you aren't listening to any music.
That's about it.
Yeah. Well, if I want to listen to music, I have a Bluetooth speaker that I listen to. But yeah, the radio died, and I just didn't replace it. It was just like, oh,
Video killed the radio.
We'll just drive around and think.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's great, actually. I write a lot of songs that way.
Nice. So, speaking of the bandwagon or the Volkswagen bus, you do have a band with the bandwagon.
Yes.
You guys just came out with a new album last year. I think that went well, pretty successful. I thought I enjoyed it.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Yeah, it's. I'm proud of it. It's very good.
I thought it was terrible.
And you're
the reviews were mixed.
We'll just
I'm kidding. It was awesome.
You're like the character on the I don't know what Taco Bell commercial. The one person doesn't like the nuggets.
Oh, I thought I was.
They paid them not to like the nuggets.
I haven't seen that one. Sorry, Jeff.
No, that's all right. You'll check it later. I'm sure you'll see it at some point. So, Nicholas, we're really here though tonight. I mean, you've been involved in the music scene for quite a while. Now you are the executive director of the Michigan Music Alliance. Ooh. You technically were the interim prior to, but now you're officially in as a full-time director.
You're C-level, bro.
Thank you. Yes, it's part-time.
So what I meant by that was like
I will.
It's no longer interim. Take that off, though.
Yeah, take off the interim. So yeah, essentially, I've been involved with the Michigan Music Alliance for 3 years or so. For 2 years, I served on the board. And when our previous executive director stepped down, I turned to the rest of the board and said, okay, who is going to run our business? Mm-hmm. And everybody said, you are, which I kind of was expecting because I also have been going to school for business administration and also have quite a bit of experience in the nonprofit world.
But you're smart and you didn't assume.
Well,
you didn't assume it was going to happen. You threw it out there. Well, like you did the appropriate thing. It sounds
correct. Like. Yeah, it wasn't up to me. Yeah. You know, I was willing to take on the responsibility if it was asked of me, which I think was a big part of the thing is that I don't know that they could get anybody else to work for free to run this organization, and I had enough passion to do it and had been involved in the organization long enough that I understood our history and our background they knew I was committed. And I said, I will do this, but understand that I'm going to put interim on the title because my goal is to create a paid position for this organization. Whether or not I'm the person that gets hired, this organization should have a paid executive director. And so that's kind of what we worked on over the course of the last year, in addition to many other things. But that was one of our main goals, was to create this position. So yeah, I'm officially hired into the role, but I've been doing it for over a year now, and I've been involved with the organization for over 3 years.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
It's a cool organization. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, you wouldn't want to bring somebody in that doesn't have any knowledge of the organization if nobody else on the board wanted to step up at that point, So that's great.
Yeah, it's a combination of skills and availability, but really it's just as like I was willing to do it. And on top of that, I have some tremendous support on the board of directors. We brought in a few new people, but I kind of went to the core board of directors and said, hey, I'm going to make changes. It's going to take time. So just stick with me and watch as this plan unfolds. And then, we're still in the process. It's always going to be an ongoing process of trial and error and learning what works and what doesn't work. And as we've all learned, things can change very quickly.
Yeah. Right.
So,
they did. Did you get involved before COVID or after the official COVID?
Well,
I know it was around that time.
Right. No, so I was not involved pre-COVID.
Okay.
The Michigan Music Alliance actually started in roughly December 2019.
Okay. So,
Right.
so you were like, there was no they would like literally started as COVID was
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
They
enveloping our country.
They had this like meeting about like what it was called like a roundtable meeting, and they just brought together. I think there were actually probably close to 100 people in the room. Looking at the photos and stuff, and it was like a panel discussion with 4 or 5 key kind of industry people, and then a room full of musicians and people, and they took all these questions about, well, what do you need in your career, what are you struggling with, and the result of that conversation was like, well, it's very clear that there is a need for professional development, that a lot of people are struggling, and a lot of people are struggling with the same things. So if we can figure out a way to help people overcome these obstacles, it would benefit our entire community. So they started a nonprofit to provide professional development and growth opportunities. And then 3 months later, the pandemic started, and almost immediately the organization pivoted to being a fundraiser for musicians. Right, so that's what we got known for, is that we raised over $40,000 and then distributed that out in the form of mini grants to artists all over the state of Michigan who found themselves out of work. And that's how I got involved in the organization, is that I was a recipient of one of the mini grants.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're kind of back being involved to help on the other side of the coin.
That is absolutely how that works for me.
Yeah.
They invested in me in a time when I needed it in my career.
Yeah.
And I want to give back.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool.
Good for you.
And it's pretty neat, though, the fact that it was just getting started and they were able to pivot and make something else happen out of it.
Yeah, I got to say that was a brilliant move by our founder and original executive director, Elle Lively. A fierce, wonderful businesswoman who has been impactful in so many artists' careers. And that was just like a vision. She was just like, we need to do something. Let's start a GoFundMe. And I mean, it was the first arts-specific fundraiser in the country, I think.
Wow.
Like, before anybody else.
Wow.
She was like, oh my God, all my musician friends are out of work. We have to do something now.
Like what do you call a class action law? It's like the inverse of a class action lawsuit. Like, you're including people from a higher degree of people to get in on this funding of some kind, instead of like someone big business getting sued and having to give money to all these.
Right.
people. Like,
Well, and they were
maybe I'm totally off base, but
and they were reasonable checks too. You know, it was not life-changing money, but it was like, you're going to pay a couple bills with this, as opposed to those
whatever. You got off 40.
Yeah.
You got off 40 grand, didn't you? You're just telling us. You got 39K. Everyone else got a penny.
I've gotten my settlement checks before too, and they're like, "Here's your $4.38
Ooh,
for
$4. That's good.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good
real
one.
money. That's
a good
worth
one.
depositing."
Yes. Yeah, usually they're like 78 cents.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you guys went down that route, really supporting musicians for a while, and that kind of continued for a while. Last year, you guys were starting to reset, but now it seems like 2025 is really the year to change the direction again.
Yeah, I don't know if that change the direction is quite the right word. As I said, we pivoted, right? And we have pivoted back now.
Okay.
So we are definitely back on track, and we're pursuing more avenues. The great thing about being an alliance is that the nature of the alliance is that we work with a lot of different organizations, a lot of different artists, a lot of different people. And so, especially since just announcing, the new position, I've been inundated with opportunities to work with artists. So we don't arts organizations, venues, not just artists, but all kinds of stuff want to be involved. And that's a thing that we hope to be able to do, is be a hub for the different arts organizations and artists in Michigan. But we don't actually know what that looks like yet. You got to
make it up.
Yeah, we're still developing strategic partnerships and seeing what we're invited to and what makes sense for us to be a part of and what we have to say no to. And that's still a work in progress. But we at least know what our programming is going to be and what we're doing, because for the last several years, primarily what we've been doing is just whatever we've been invited to. That's what we go do, and our programming is really the B-side sessions, also industry lunch, and then the music econ summit. We're working on some other programming, but those things for sure we're doing this year. Like that's what we are doing. What else we're going to be involved in, that's still very much in the air.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about those programs.
Right. Our flagship music business education program is called the B-Side Sessions. And this is when we were founded. This is what we were founded for. And mostly they are online webinars. They can also happen in person. So it might be a thing just like what we're doing here or whatever.
Sure.
And sometimes there might be a live studio audience. It really depends on the type of information that is being transmitted. For example, we host a workshop about starting an LLC, and rather than having people with their sensitive information online, it's a little bit better sometimes to ask questions in a room where it's not being broadcast. Yep. So that makes sense to be an in-person workshop. Another one that we're planning on doing is a Build Your EPK workshop where you're going to get new press photos. We can't do that online. That can't be like broadcast as it's happening. So it's going to be a variety of in-person events, and then also the classic webinar style. Somebody will be talking about a specific topic, and then there will be an option at the end for questions and answers.
Yeah.
So that's the B-side sessions, and it'll be different music topics, music business topics that. We've always gone through different topics. Some of them you can repeat, and then there will be new ones as well. But yeah, the plan is to do 8 B-side sessions this year.
Ooh, this year.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the B-side sessions, and I said that's our flagship kind of educational component. That's what we're mostly known for. That's what's out there in terms of when you point to like what does the Michigan Music Alliance do. That's the thing that's very easy to say. We create these B-side sessions for modern independent musicians, specifically living in Michigan. A lot of this information is relevant to anyone, anywhere. But of course, we're located in Michigan, so a lot of this stuff will have Michigan-based examples and such.
Makes sense.
The other thing that we do is the Music Econ Summit, and this is a partnership with the Grand Rapids Center for Community Transformation, which is essentially a nonprofit hub If you look it up online, it says it's like a youth center, and that's kind of one thing. They've got this opportunity for youth to hang out there.
Cool.
They also host the NAACP and Bethany Christian Services. There are
Sweet.
several different nonprofit organizations in this one building.
That's cool.
It's also an event space. And so last year we hosted a one-day music business event. It was from like 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. We had all these different panels and workshops and speakers talking about different music business topics. This year we're expanding that to 3 days. So there'll be a Friday afternoon / night thing.
Buddy, we gotta
all
get
day
in on
on
this.
Saturday.
We
and then
gotta
something
get in on
Sunday.
this.
Yeah, you guys should come out.
Like
definitely.
this is something I feel like. Like
This will be April 11 through 13, 2025 in Grand Rapids.
Who's the main audience then for that? Is it going to be mostly the artists?
Yeah, primarily musicians would be the target audience.
Yep.
And just the nature of who we have involved. Last year, it really spoke to a lot of the hip hop artists. Again, business is business. In the music industry, there are a lot of common struggles that artists face that don't have anything to do with their genre.
Sure.
And of course, every genre has its own struggles and hurdles as well.
Absolutely.
But when it comes down to it, if you're trying to start an LLC or build an EPK, it does not matter
care
what your genre is.
Right.
So primarily what this is, the Music Econ Summit for, is about setting up musicians to be professional so that they can earn money from their art, right? And I emphasize earn money from that because the goal of the Music Econ Summit is like we want to add financial stability into our community.
Music
overall.
and economics.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not just like come here and learn how to fill out your W-9 form. Like come here and learn how to monetize your content.
This is awesome, Nick. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so and I know that you said from the early on the sessions and the feedback you were looking to get from musicians, artists, people in the industry, right? Like what can the Michigan Music Alliance do to help you guys? And this is a big piece of that coming through is all these kinds of things. And it makes perfect sense, right? Artists, bands, let's say they're a band starts in high school. They they love it, they enjoy it enough, they carry it through college, whether they go to college or not. But they might not go to your regular ordinary college. They might skip that piece, might just get part-time jobs because they're focusing on the music. They're not going to know anything about these types of things like filling out or even how that you need an LLC or things about your website or an EPK press release kit stuff. Like they might not even know that stuff, and just the fact that you're there, they have the time. This is what they're doing. It just makes perfect sense, and that's such a cool thing for you guys to do.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and I want to echo that. That like when I was young, I wish that there was an organization like this that I could just go to and like in the span of a couple hours or whatever, like walk away knowing, okay, I need a website, I need an EPK, and I need these like few
I need to
key
do
things.
social media.
Yeah, and also like that when you take on these responsibilities, it enables you to be in power of your own career. Like to break that down, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can actually do it.
It's
So
not
if you,
just a saying.
No, like if you want to be a musician, like you can do it. The thing about that is that there is not a clear career path.
Correct.
Right. So if you wanted to be a doctor, then you have to go to college. You have to graduate and get into, your next step.
Yep.
There's a process to get to where you want to go. For being a musician, that process doesn't exist. It's not the same for everyone. However, there are a few key basic tenets. If you set yourself up with these right away, you've set yourself up for success long term.
There you go.
And I had no idea. I spent over 15, probably 20 years before I realized, I guess I own a business. Maybe I should learn a little bit about business.
Wow. Good for you, man.
Yeah, good for me, but
Frickin'
also
A.
like, come on, man, like it was so obvious.
But the
whole time.
realization for you is, and now in the spot you're in, is you're making, like, you're going to thwart so many terrible attempts at doing this the wrong way.
Well, I hope so. I also hope that people always continue to make terrible attempts.
Yes,
You
because
know what
why?
I mean?
You need to.
I think there's
Thank you.
glory in failure, and also there's glory in exploration, and
Fair.
that you learn a lot when you fail.
Yeah.
And then also, glory that that implies grandiose expectations.
bad for
and
saying what I
dreams and
said now.
goals. No, I'm with that. I always hope that people will, for lack of a better word, try it on their own, and oh man, I wish there was an easier way to do this, and then they they'll come across this maybe, but I do think there's a tremendous amount of value in just going for it, and not necessarily, like I said, like there's not a clear path, and even if I gave you that clear path, it does not guarantee success in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you need to, like, whatever it is that you need to do to keep going with your artistic career, go for it.
Yeah.
If structure is scary, I totally understand that.
Right.
But also, like I said, it took me 15, almost 20 years to accept that I guess if I'm a musician, then I'm a business owner, and maybe I should learn about business. So the sooner that you come to the realization of that, the better that you'll be set for long-term success.
Yeah.
And we've talked to a lot of different musicians and bands, and quite a few of them, they talk about that they're running a business, you know, and that's important. But if they don't know that, and you guys are there to help support, give them some tools. It's not, like you said, it's not you're going to come to the Michigan Music Alliance and next thing you know, you're going to be a successful musician.
Right.
But you're going to have some tools to help you get a foundation, and then you do the creative part and getting your music out and making it happen, right?
That's exactly it. We as an organization can't make you successful. That's not even what we do on any type of level, right? Like, we give you the tools for you to make yourself successful. And we hopefully will be able to point people in the direction of other people that can help them with that journey. But yeah, there's actually, I should just say this right now. There are way easier ways to make money than playing music. Okay, so like if your goal is to make money, there are other things that you can do to make money.
Yeah. OnlyFans.
Right? I'm not saying that's not an easy, a job, right? Like, I bet
I was
people
thinking of
work
like
really hard at
online
that.
ways.
But I mean, whatever. There are lots of different ways to make money. Music is one of the hardest ways to do it.
Yeah,
And you end up like everything you make, you just invest back into it. But if you're okay with that and you treat it like a business, then you can. But you don't have to. If you just want to play music as a hobby, that's totally cool. If you want to have a band that plays a couple shows a year and you're like, we're not going to have an LLC, that is totally fine too. Like, I think that's another important thing to note, is that you don't have to take it all the way to the maximum. You don't have to be consider yourself to be a professional. But if you want
power.
to, it's available to you.
Yeah.
And there are people
And knowing
and
about
resources.
it, knowing that it's available, it should be a thing.
Well, and I think an important thing that a lot of people we've talked to bring up is, it's been really interesting. Like, what is the meaning of success for you? And it's not what maybe the public perception has been for years. Like, if you're not selling out major stadiums and all, like, no, I think I love it that musicians have come to, like, they're like, whatever makes me happy and feel like I'm making success, then I'm good.
And everybody's got their little bar for that, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
Everybody's
hope they
different.
do.
We talk to different people.
That is the reality. Success is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so you define what success is for you. And I think you're right that there is an extremely common misconception in our culture that we're going to look at music as, I guess it's a triangle, but it's not a triangle. It's a pyramid, right? It's a pyramid. And at the top of the pyramid, we have like Taylor Swift,
Right.
and like
Yeah.
Beyonce and Dolly Parton, which I also want to acknowledge that all the people at the top of the pyramid are women right now.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
I mean, who's the
That's
big male
fantastic.
superstar?
You're Ooh.
Who
Nicholas
sells
James
more
Thomasma.
tickets than Taylor Swift, right?
Nobody.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so there are lots of other people,
Ooh.
but like at the top of the pyramid, and people think if you are not Taylor Swift and you are not Beyonce, then you are not successful.
Yeah, it's
Right?
silly.
Like that's
Right.
such a stupid misconception that I've heard like time and time and time and again. But the reality is like they're up here,
Well, let me pause you right there. Though.
everybody else is down below.
I took my girls to see the Rebel Leaves a month or so ago.
Sure.
They in the Accidentals.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Accidentals and Rebel Leaves. They think they're all millionaires.
Totally.
Every Grace Tyson and they're all millionaires.
Well, and that's
in the eyes of my girls.
That's the reality of
Right?
that is to kids there is no difference.
Right.
All they see is the
innocent,
magic, is
right?
the
Yeah, right.
But we can very easily go online and be like, well, they only have this many
Followers,
monthly listeners
yeah.
on Spotify, and in our minds they are not successful.
Yeah.
But the reality is this is a big pyramid. Most everybody is down below.
Yep.
Most in fact,
everybody is like most. All
most
of them.
everybody. In fact,
98%, 99%.
well, that's how pyramids work, right? The base
Yeah.
is the biggest. So if you make any money at all, you're in that foundational layer, right?
Yep.
I happen to be like one step above that, where I make like a little bit, maybe
Yeah.
enough to pay my bills and like make a living off of it. Like I'm not rich, I'm not famous by any stretch of the imagination.
You're just making
But
it
am
work.
I successful? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's to
And you know
me that's there's a huge difference. Like being rich and being famous were not the goal.
I was going to ask you this though. We kind of talking about the culture, and I want to get back to Michigan Music Alliance and talk a
Yeah,
little bit about
sure.
that. But there's that I don't know if stigma is the right word, but it kind of goes back like it's hard for musicians because even let's say people close to them are like, "What are you doing?" Because
Yeah.
you're not if you're not making it.
It's-
What are you doing?
it's not a
musician,
positive.
right? And are you guys in any way helping to educate the public as well, or is it all okay?
Yeah, I think it all goes together. I think when our mission, we serve the Michigan music community. So it does not say that we serve Michigan musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you come to shows, if you are a venue that hosts shows, if you are you guys that host a podcast about this, you are a part of the Michigan music community. We want to serve everyone in that community. So it does involve educating the audience. That is a part of it, is that people who go to shows and love music, that's our audience. And we need those people just as much as musicians need them.
Right. And if we can somehow educate them and get them to understand, if you want live music, you want local music, you got to do X, Y, Z to help us out. I mean, you got to go to a show. It could be as simple as that, or you can buy some merch, or you can, listen to the music. All those things to support.
Well, there are so many ways that you can support musicians, but you're right. Coming to the shows, that's like the biggest thing.
Cream of the crop.
And I can say that this is not limited to Michigan. The entire industry is suffering from low ticket sales and closing venues. Mm-hmm. That we are losing festivals and we are losing venues.
Is that thanks to our corporate overlords?
Whatever it's thanks to, the way to remedy that is by people coming to those events.
Right. Yeah.
So
Even
There's
if it
the
means
solution.
paying the man 10 times too much in fees.
yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, because I don't know how to
Because
get away from that.
I know people that are like, I'm screw concerts in 2025. I'm not going to any concert if I have to pay Ticketmaster. Zero.
But
I'm
here's
not gonna do
where
it.
this is where I think we can make a difference, right? It's not everything goes through Ticketmaster.
Exactly. A lot of
Right? The
there's a
local
difference.
artists, the guys, you talked about the pyramid.
Right.
If we're talking about that lower level,
Those aren't the guys under the corporate.
That's right.
thumb.
Playing at
Like,
all your
Ticketmaster
venues.
is somewhere up here on the pyramid. They are not down here.
Right.
Granted, the conversations I've had with my friends have been not about Michigan bands or
Right.
Michigan artists specifically.
But
It's a
even if it
general,
is,
bigger thing.
right? So because when we talk about Michigan artists, like keep in mind, we're also talking about Madonna
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Eminem,
Eminem,
and
yep.
Stevie
Kid
Wonder
Rock.
and Billy Strings. And,
Exactly.
You know, like the
Ooh, Billy Strings,
artists
yeah.
that go through Ticketmaster when they
Right.
tour.
Exactly.
That is legit. There's an artist playing in my hometown that I can't afford to go to because the tickets are X amount and then the fees are X amount, and I'm not going alone. So once you add in the second ticket, it becomes unreasonable, right? I relate to that. And again, that's how we combat that, is like, okay, well, you can't pay the Ticketmaster fees, then go see local music instead. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can go see 10 local music shows for the cost of one, Van Andel Arena show.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to call anybody out there, but
right,
you know,
That's the big daddy around here.
yeah, and I live in Grand Rapids, so
Yeah.
that is the big daddy for me. So, but it's the same whether it's Pine Knob or Little
Right.
Caesars Arena, like whatever it is. We've gotten to this point now where like concerts cost $100,
Right.
and you see a $65 ticket, and then there's a $20 in tickets plus $7 convenience
Isn't
fee,
that
$3.95 processing plus $8 tax, and you're
Right.
like, what happened here, right? Like,
Right. Exactly.
So I'm definitely in that boat of like, I have to be conservative with my money, that I don't, again, I'm not at the top of the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
I have to make decisions about what I can go to and what I can't. And we are fortunate in Michigan that we can go see local music, and it doesn't cost a ton, and it's almost this quality.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
I mean,
there's
for
so
years,
many
Billy
musicians.
Strings played around here for years with a no cover or a $5 cover or $10 cover. So now it's, $50, $60, $70 to go see him now. But
And he's an
but
artist
you had that.
I would not think twice of for paying any amount of money to see him.
Right.
Because of who he is.
And it's worth it. And his show has also improved over the years, right? So when you used to go see him at Little Bohemia in Traverse City on Sunday nights, that's a different show than Van Andel Arena.
At Halloween, Van Andel Arena,
You know what I mean?
Where it's
Right,
like
so-
multiple nights and multiple like crazy bonkersness
Right.
going on.
So I totally can justify the cost of concerts, and also that's another great example. Is like that was bonkers.
It was
how many
bon-
musicians were on that
Dude,
bill? The pyrotechnics,
it was-
and you had paid all the Van Andel staff overtime for being there over past
What
midnight.
a badass.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. It costs a lot of money to put on concerts at that level, so they have to charge a lot.
Yep.
But you, as a consumer, don't have to spend your money
Correct.
there.
Yep.
There are a lot of other opportunities to spend your money. There are a lot of local and independent venues, and a lot of those local independent venues, small places, really need the money.
Oh yeah.
Not to say that no concert venue doesn't need the money. They all need the money. But we're kind of in a unique spot right now where we've lost some really great festivals and some really great venues recently, and I would love to see that rebound, turn around.
Definitely. And one thing that I think to note for people, if they're not realizing this, like you can go to the larger venue, right? But unless you're paying really extra amount of money, you're not going to be that close. You go to a local show, you're right there.
They might jump on you.
And you're connected.
Like you said
You're
earlier about the
connected.
Clover Room, it's like
Yeah.
when you go to that show, you're literally sitting next to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're connected with the experience. It's not just this, okay, I'm looking more at the screens and all this other stuff. I'm actually paying attention to what the music is.
Yeah.
So, Nicholas, back to Michigan Music Alliance.
Yeah.
You said you got the B-sides.
Yep.
You've got, what was the conference called?
The Music Econ Summit.
Okay. You guys got any other programs?
Yeah, the third component of the program, there is more coming, but the third component of our programming is the industry lunch. An industry lunch is a thing that again was started by my predecessor, Al Lively. And it basically came down to, she was like, I have lunch once a month with one of the staff members over at WYCE. Would you want to come to lunch with us? Like, what if we just like invited a bunch of industry people? And so instead of just it being like a private, hey, come to lunch with us,
It's open.
yeah, we posted like, hey, if you're available, come have lunch with other people who work in the industry. And what that has become now is a first and foremost a networking session. Where
We got to go to
people-
this now too, Jeff.
yeah, people from
Jeez.
all different types of genres and different, I've had like producers and agents and, of course, artists
Yep.
come out and they talk about their issues. And one of the things that is really cool about that is that, first of all, you're facilitating like connections, right? So people are meeting people this way, but also I'm like collecting real data in real time of problems and situations that artists are going through. And sometimes I can help them like right then. And other times it's like, man, that's an interesting situation to be going through. You know, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, good. I have more to learn about my job. You know, there's no shortage of situational things happening in the music industry. And so it's cool to get feedback on what people are actually going through, as opposed to like, we've scheduled our programming months in advance and this is what we're going to be talking about. I get to really talk to people about what they're going through in their careers. And so it's been a great way for us to get out into the community. There's not a specific topic. There's no like assigned speaker. We just meet and have lunch.
Yeah, that's great. So you've got 3 different things. One's a little more formal. We're gonna have a topic. We're gonna learn about this. You've got the lunch, which is more informal. You get connect with people, and then you've got the bigger conference, which kind of blends both because you're going to have the networking as well as your bigger, education.
And that's exactly it. The B-sides are pretty much strictly educational. The industry lunch is pretty much strictly networking. And then the Music Econ Summit is the combination of those. So we do intend on developing a 3-day music business conference. We actually want to do 2 of them, probably one on the west side of the state and one on the east side of the state. So we're looking for a location in Detroit. But these are kind of long-term goals.
Sure, yeah.
And so, we've also laid out our strategic vision and our 3-year goals. And so we will be expanding what we're doing. So as I said, right now we've got kind of the 3 main components. And then there's a lot of what else are we going to be involved in? It's pretty exciting time for the Alliance. I got to be honest. We've undergone a transformation the last year where we've got a new mission, new vision, values, a 3-year strategic plan. We secured our first grants from the Michigan Arts and Culture Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Great Lakes People Fund.
Awesome.
It's cool to see the progress happening at the Alliance.
I bet.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about funding, you also need the help of everyday people to help support you as well, right?
Yeah.
And you guys did a fundraiser at Wealthy Theater this last fall, right?
Ago.
Yeah. We did an event called Sounds Like Michigan. And this was kind of like this was an idea that I had a long time ago was let's celebrate all this work that we've been doing. And of course, we do that by hosting concerts, right? Like that's what I know how to do is to put on shows. And so I said, if we're going to do an event, then it has to involve multiple genres and multiple parts of the state. And so the way that kind of worked out is we brought 2 bands from Detroit and then 2 bands from Grand Rapids. Unfortunately, Frontier Records was our headliner. They got COVID and were not able to play the show.
I thought I didn't know exactly what I heard something.
COVID, man, it's still a thing. But yeah, the idea was to get like multiple genres from different parts of the state together to celebrate collaboration and community, and then also to raise money for the Alliance. Is that we're a nonprofit organization, and of course the misconception is that nonprofits don't need to make money, and the reality is that like we have to make money in
more than
order
anybody else
to be able to provide these resources for our community. The main way that we've made money over the years is through selling T-shirts that say "Support Michigan Music," and it's a no-brainer. People are like, "Support Michigan Music, hell yeah!" So what do you guys do?
Yeah,
so sure,
right. So that's now what we're getting back to is really trying to explain like. We're essentially a professional development network, but it's not just the musicians, right? This is, again, it's teaching an audience, teaching venues, teaching artists, teaching booking agents, teaching everybody who's involved in the music community how we can best support each other so that there's continued growth, more success stories, and really ultimately more art.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's
why
really
we're
what
here.
it comes down to. Is more than anything.
That's why we do
else.
this.
I just want to encourage creativity, and I want to see artists out there, and I want them to be creating and successful in that.
Talking about that, the industry, how would you explain where the Michigan music industry is right now?
Well, the industry in itself is in kind of a tough state, right? So the whole industry has been knocked on its head because of the streaming services. For 50 plus years, there was a model that worked, right? The record company owned the recording studio, and they would loan money to the band. The band would make a record in the recording studio and then go out and tour to sell the record. The record company would make the money from the records based on what they gave back to the band. So bands got to make a record and go on tour,
Right.
which they liked.
By default.
Right. This is, hey, sign me up, right?
Yeah,
I get to make
that's
a
what they
record
wanna
and
do.
I get to
That's
go on
what they
tour.
wanna do.
And, so the idea of like, yeah, you're paying back a debt. You're like, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Well, now it's not like that. You don't sell records in the quantities that you used to. So a label can't sign you and give you money. Furthermore, you don't need the label to own the recording studio.
Right.
You can make the recordings on your own or through a professional recording studio that is not going to charge as much as a label that would hire you and hire manufacturing, distribution, all that stuff. The industry itself, the whole model is different now. The whole thing is different. And nobody really has the answer, right? Because streaming is supposed to be the answer. And let me say it another way. Streaming has to be the answer.
Yeah, where else
It
is it
has
gonna go?
to, right? Because here's another way of looking at that is that if you buy a CD from me, great. I got $20 in my pocket and you got the CD and I spent $1 manufacturing it. Plus all the money I spent you get into it and you're like, okay, I made my money on my CD. I got a little profit. We're good. However, I never know if you listen to that CD once, twice, 10 times, 1,000 times. I have CDs from local artists that I have listened to hundreds of times and they have no idea.
Correct. Yeah.
They don't
Saw
know.
you buy it one time.
I know every single word on that album. It's like
Isn't that a
monumental
bummer?
in my life.
Yeah.
And they don't have any idea about that whatsoever. Streaming, on the other hand, every time you listen to that song, it ticks the number.
Well, at least
Right?
for
It counts. You
30,
get another count.
45 seconds or whatever.
know-
Whatever
well-
the counter is.
Sure, but if you're really listening, right? Like, if
Yeah,
it's-
yeah.
if it's
Right,
a song,
you're
an
being
album,
genuine.
or whatever. If you're like really into this and you go listen
Genuinely
to it.
listen.
So this is like what I tell people is like the best way to support an artist is you buy the CD, but then stream it when you listen to it.
Keep streaming.
Because it ticks
double.
the play count.
It's
So
double.
that's what I mean. Like streaming has to be the answer. CDs are going away. Records, they're holding strong,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's
buddy.
not the answer, right? The answer has to be streaming. It has to be when you listen to my music, I get paid from it. And right now, the way that works is when you listen to my music, I get 0.00069 cents.
Right.
But only after 1,000 people have listened
and that's
to it.
newer
Yeah,
in the last year, right?
that is brand new as
Or
of the last year.
Yeah.
So right, so that's where we're at now. Is if your song doesn't get 1,000 play counts, you don't get paid for it.
So
you still get the
small
play
bands
counts.
Still get screwed.
They do.
Even worse than they did
Right.
before.
You're right. However, this still speaks to streaming has to be the answer. Because if they can change it so that you need 1,000 streams to monetize
They
it,
can change it to one.
that's right. And they can change it for it's 0.00069 to 1.
Yeah,
right. Like
right,
maybe I
exactly.
get a penny
Yeah.
for every time it
Oh,
gets
how
streamed.
amazing would that be?
Right, like you get 3 million streams on a song, and then there's your like you can live off of that all of a sudden.
Yeah, right.
This is a whole different ball game,
Right.
As opposed to first of all you need 1,000 on each individual song, right? Because that's another thing
Yeah.
too, right? So if
What?
I put out a 6-song album and each song gets 900 spins,
You're screwed.
I get nothing.
Right.
One song gets 1,000 spins,
Buddy,
and the rest get 900. I get whatever, $1 for
This is
1,000
when we got to
spins, right?
burn it all
That's
down,
crazy,
man.
yeah.
This is when we got to
Yeah.
burn it all down.
And
I
that's killing the album too, right?
Yeah.
So the concept of the album
Absolutely, it's killing the
isn't
album.
there's not the incentive to do it.
And there it is, right? So if I'm this old model of like you make an album, what's an album?
Right.
What is an album?
Who
6
cares?
songs, 8 songs, 10
Well,
songs,
yeah.
15
In
songs,
20
99 songs.
in
You
20
can-
years,
an
there'll be
album
no
can be
albums.
whatever, right?
There'll
Like,
be no-
Yeah.
there'll be
Yeah,
no
exactly.
albums.
and I think you're somewhat right on that. That like album basically means collection of songs
Yeah.
at this point.
Yep.
And that could mean something different 20 years from now.
It very much could, or 100 years from now.
Yeah.
And it's-
It's just like you have bands that you like and they're songs, but there's no.
But I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole. What is a song?
Yeah.
What is a band? I mean, for real, like
What is
a band?
being
if,
alive?
If people tell me that the Dead and Company is a cover band, I'm like, but 3 members of that band were in the original
Yeah, so
band.
it's
like,
a
what is
little
it?
different.
It's not really a cover band,
Right,
right.
And then furthermore, it's like, okay, well, one guy drops out and they replace him. Is it still the band?
No,
Like,
I feel like if there's one
like, what-
person, if there's one person
a band
originally left,
is just a collection of people. That, like we talked about the
You're
album, is just a
fired.
collection
You're
of
fired.
songs.
You're fired.
No, I'm just saying that's
right? Okay, here's another example, right? The Beach Boys, they play at Frederick Meyer Gardens, right?
Yeah.
Who's in the Beach Boys?
great question. I have no idea.
it's like these. It's like
Who's in
these.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Well, that's right.
Well,
These are
did
going
we
to
ever know?
These bands could
That's
carry
my
on
point.
for
What's a
decades.
band?
They could carry on for decades.
That's my. That's
it's like
exactly my point.
I don't even know how to put it. Like
So-
but yeah,
I'm just saying, Nicholas is telling us to stop listening to music. Is what I
no
because there's no such thing as a band or music anymore.
No, I think that's what's exciting about it.
I know. I'm totally.
I think the
totally-
lack of definition is
Yes.
what is like.
It makes it
it's
cool.
possibilities.
It gives
That's
it the cool
right.
factor again, right? I felt like we had this period of time where like music wasn't as cool as it was when we were in high school. Like music is the shit when you're in high school.
Yeah.
You define yourself, or at least I did. My group of friends
People
did.
do.
They
People do.
define themselves by the music they listen to.
They sure
and
do,
that's
yeah.
what helped create all the genres of people in your school. The frickin' the jocks, the preppy people, the stoners, the skaters, or like whatever. You go down to this whole
Yeah.
list. But yeah, man.
Yeah, there's a really great series on local spins, the music that changed my world, and he basically just asked people like, what are your like top 3 most influential albums, like most important albums, and I read those almost. I'm like a junkie for that stuff. I love hearing what people
Other
are
people like,
into,
yeah.
what really influenced you.
I like
and,
that.
and sometimes it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you knew. Like, yeah, that person's into this, right?
yeah.
Of course, they're,
If you know who
but,
they are.
But almost every time, people are showcasing music that they fell in love with when they were teenagers.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, almost every single one of them is like, I was in high school when this album came out, or I found this album in high school, or my dad gave me a copy when I was in high school. Or it's so funny to see how like your formative years, music plays such a big role in that time period in your life.
Yeah.
That's universal.
Yeah, that's very true. Very cool. So, anything else on the industry, especially Michigan?
Man, we could talk about the industry all night. One of the things about it is that it's constantly evolving and changing, and that's one of the things that I enjoy is finding the new avenues, seeing what's working for people, and seeing what people are trying out, and trying to come up with different ways to approach the same thing. I mean, hey, there it is. I think
Inside joke.
the fundamentals. People are always going to enjoy music.
Yeah,
And there is an element to live performance that can't be replicated. So if you are a musician that can perform live, there's always going to be a place for you.
I love that. That's cool. So, anything else you want to hit on, Nicholas?
Unless you got anything else, I think we covered a lot.
We did. This was awesome. This is so fun.
That was good stuff, man.
So how can people find more about what you guys are doing, get involved in those programs that you talked about, and support you guys?
Sure. The easiest way is to visit our website, MichiganMusicAlliance.org. If you just Google, support Michigan music, we will come up. And there is where you can sign up for our newsletter. That's probably the simplest way to be informed. We send out, currently it's monthly. I think it's going to increase because we've got a lot of activity. So we'll probably do a bi-monthly newsletter that goes out with what we're doing, and then also different opportunities around the state for musicians. And so I would say the easiest way to get involved is to go to our website. We do have a volunteer program, and we also are launching a membership program this year, which we'll talk about next time we come on.
I'm excited to hear about membership. I want to be a member.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great way to...
Jeff, we have hours to talk about what the heck, like we've talked about it before, how we can get more involved with the Michigan Music Alliance. And I think after our conversation with Nick, we have, without talking to each other, we have some ideas on now how we can do that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And it's all about, there's so many forces I feel like in the state working towards making it happen. And it's just a matter of what we talked about earlier, getting more people in the public aware, because once they get hooked, I think they'll stick around and want to get more.
Yeah. Well, we've always had a tremendously supportive and collaborative community in Michigan. It's one of the things that really separates us from kind of the rest of the world. People tour from all over the place, and they come to Michigan and are like, wow, there's something special here about Michigan. Or, and people that are from Michigan and then they move away, they will tell us, like, it's just different, it's just different.
We've heard that.
Yeah. You'll hear it again and again, because it's true that we in Michigan believe in collaboration over competition. That this is a thing where the rising tide lifts all boats. Mm-hmm. What's good for you is good for me, and that type of mentality has helped grow our scene and support each other for all these years. I anticipate that we'll see more and more of that, especially now that there is a central hub for the Michigan music community. I do anticipate that. Like I said, when I was first starting out, man, I wish that there was something like this.
Yeah.
And so if there are people out there who are thinking, man, I want to get involved. If that resonates with you, like, man, I'm at a point in my life I want to give back. Let's figure out a way that we can make that happen.
Yeah. All right.
Rock and roll.
If you like this episode, check out all of our episodes on your favorite streaming platform, or even our website, themittenmusic.com. Or if you want short clips of our episodes, check out our socials. We got Facebook, we have Instagram, we got TikTok, and YouTube. We're all over the social media game. Make sure to check out some live Michigan music or listen on your favorite streaming platform.